Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of South Asia Research Center SARC, Soka University, I warmly welcome you all to the opening ceremony of the second international conference, which is entitled to Memory and Past in South Asia. It is our honor to welcome Professor Atul Khosla, the Vice Chancellor of Shoolini University, India. Thank you very much, Professor Khosla, for joining us today. It is our privilege to have you. It is also my privilege to introduce all other distinguished guests, Professor Shalini Gupta, the Vice Chancellor of Desh Bhagat University. Thank you very much, Professor Shalini, for being here with us today. We also have participants from different parts of the world: Japan, India, US, Bangladesh, Nepal, and other places. I hope all of you will enjoy this very special occasion. Firstly, I would like to welcome Professor Atul Khosla, our main guest today, for his keynote address speech. Professor Khosla, over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, SARC and Soka University, for giving me the opportunity. It's my honor to be here today. I start by saying that gods are with us. It's a beautiful day here in India, and I'm sure back in Japan it's as beautiful. Respected Chairman Yasunori Tashiro-san, President Yoshihisa Baba-san, Director Ryohei Tanaka-san, Advisor Mukesh Williams-san, SARC committee members, Global Core Director Hiroki Shimoide, Dr. Yui Teramoto, SARC, Ms. Tushita Arora, distinguished guests and participants. I once again thank you for making me the keynote speaker. It's an honor for me, like I said, and it brings me great joy. It brings me great joy for two reasons. First, Soka University and Shoolini have signed an MOU for mutual cooperation, and this is the first formal engagement. So thank you, Dr. Williams, for inviting me and making this more formal. The objectives of both universities is same, and that is to propel human values and make sure that the world becomes a better place, and hopefully connect both Japanese and South Asian cultures and societies. So in this regard, it'll be lovely to work with members of Soka University, the Japanese community, and other universities and scholars from India. I have not met many people, but I've heard that the South Asia Research Center at Soka University is one of the leading institutions in Japan that facilitates interaction between Japan and South Asia. So I congratulate all of you for this. It is a wonderful, wonderful initiative. I'm going to go back to probably the 3rd century BC, when I'm told that the great king Ashoka sent his ambassadors to different parts of the world, including Japan, to promote Buddhism. And I think that's where Buddhism started in different parts of the world. If I'm wrong, Professor Williams, excuse me for the wrong fact, but that's what I learned in my history lessons in school. So our connections are very long, are very old and very deep. And our connections have to become stronger because I think somewhere along the way, we have lost touch of each other's culture. And this initiative that you're doing is absolutely, absolutely stellar, because you're going to connect the two, I would say, great civilizations and work towards understanding each other. I'd also like to say that I've never visited Japan, and I'm unfortunate for that. And I hope Professor Williams and other members of Soka University will invite me someday. But I've heard lots and lots of stories. I've seen many movies about Japan. And of course, I've worked with lots of wonderful Japanese people in my life. I've served in my consulting career before becoming an academician. I've served Toyota Motor Company. I've very closely followed all the manufacturing practices of the Japanese. I've served Sony, and I've served many other global corporations in my consulting career. And I've always been impressed by the work that your civilization does, both in terms of bringing economic progress and human values together. But the topic today is SARC, and the topic today is South Asia. I'm told that there are lots and lots of scholars here today. So I'm going to pose 5 questions to all of you. 5 questions that you might want to probe in your research. 5 questions that can bring us together in a deeper way. The first question I have is a question on history. How old is the history of the world? And if you go back and look at history that's documented, you typically start hitting 5000 BC. Or if you're a little more ambitious, you'll hit 10,000 BC. But at 10,000 BC, we were still not very civilized. That's what I'm told. But the question I want to pose over here is, I was reading a book that says that Homo sapiens entered Earth 100,000 years ago, and we became agrarian, which means we started creating townships and villages 50,000 years ago. What happened between 50,000 BC and 5,000 BC? You know, in Indian mythology, there are lots of stories about a huge progression of the human mankind. We have stories about nuclear wars. We have stories about flying machines. We've got stories about aeroplanes and the likes. Is it possible that there was a human civilization? Is it possible that even when the earth was one and had not broken into different pieces, there was still a connection amongst all of us? There was still a civilization that was deep and bigger than what we understand. It's a question for us to probe. I think it's a question for people in South Asia to probe, because many of our scriptures talk about it. That's my first question to you. My second question is about a very interesting thought. When you come to South Asia, unlike Egypt, unlike Greece, you will not see archaeological buildings. Yes, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, yes, but nothing till you hit probably 5th century AD, and there's some temples. And that's a question I have for my archaeological friends. Why don't you find archaeological findings as big buildings in India or other parts of South Asia? And I have multiple hypotheses for this. The first is, this part of the world was evolving spiritually. This part of the world was agrarian. So that's one hypothesis. So the focus was on, not on buildings, but was on propelling the spiritual side. And that's how Buddhism sort of started in the country, or the region, I would say. My second hypothesis is that possibly we built in wood, like you built in Japan. Possibly we never built in stone and concrete. And that's why you don't see buildings, but it bewilders me why we don't have monuments like the pyramids of Egypt or any other buildings. That's something that I would like my archaeological friends to probe. My third question is again about mythology. We have scriptures like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana in India. And are these fictional or are they true? But if they're fictional, let me ask you a question, Professor Williams. The famous poet Valmiki describes Ayodhya, the city of Rama, and he describes it as a big city with flowing canals. He describes flying machines. He describes a modern, vibrant city. If this is fictional, how could Valmiki describe it? How could he know the preciseness of what a modern city looks like? It's a fundamental question that I'm asking, and I'm requesting you to probably put resources to probe. Are some of the scriptures that we see in South Asia fictional or really true? And if Valmiki did it, if he was able to think and he was able to write such fictional stuff, hats off to him. But I still believe there was some truth in it, because without even imagining such cities, such science, how would he even write about it? That's my third question. My fourth is for economics students. And we talk about South Asia being what we call Sonegi Chidiya in English as the golden bird. I'm very curious to understand, how did the GDP of South Asia evolve over the years from times of Ashoka, probably, because that's when I think that's Chandragupta Maurya, when we really started understanding history, to now, to probably before the British came. And we've been very proud in our culture, say we were very, very rich. But do we have numbers? Do we have numbers to say what was the economic GDP of the country or the region at that point in time? What was the trade flow between Japan and India? What was the extension of cultural, I would say, interaction between the two countries, economic interaction between the two countries? Two great countries, I would say. And that's my fourth question. And my fifth question is about languages. I'm told that Sanskrit and Tamil are amongst the oldest languages of the world. Are there other lost languages, Professor Williams, that we don't know of? And what makes these languages so powerful? And my last question around languages really is, why does Tamil continue to be a spoken language, a used language, while Sanskrit has disappeared, at least from the common human being? So these are lots and lots of questions that are coming to my mind as I think about SARC, as I think about South Asia, and I've been scratching my brain in terms of what would I speak today to all these learned scholars. So rather than saying anything, I'm actually asking questions. I'm saying, I'm bewildered about what really happened in the past, and that's the topic for today. Help me understand it. I would love to read the proceedings of this wonderful seminar when they're printed or when they're published or online. And I would really love to come and meet with many of you in your beautiful city in Japan. And I would love to meet the leadership of Soka University, congratulate them for promoting relationships and understanding of South Asia. With that, I would once again thank everyone around over here, and very specifically my dear friend, Professor Mukesh Williams, for giving me the opportunity. I always believe in recaps, so I'm going to pose my 5 questions again. First, how old is history? What is happening between 50,000 to 5,000 BC, especially in South Asia? Second, why don't we see the pyramids and the large buildings that we see in other civilizations in South Asia? What's the reason for that? Third, are our scriptures of South Asia true, or this purely fiction? Fourth, in economics, what is really happening in terms of trade flow between Japan and South Asia? Was India really, or the region really, the golden bird? And finally, help me understand about the languages. What is really happening? What is really being printed? What is really being written? It will be such a wonderful thing to understand, especially in terms of flow of literature between Japan and South Asia. With that, once again, thank you. It's been so wonderful to talk to all of you. I so wish this wasn't real. I so wish I was having a cup of lovely tea back in Japan rather than speaking over boring Zoom. So, but that's life. We have to adapt to new situations. Look forward to meeting you in the near future. And thank you once again. Have a great day and have a wonderful, wonderful workshop and seminar. Over to you, Professor Williams. Sorry, Teramoto.
Thank you very much, sir. It was wonderful. It was a great speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Atul Khosla, for your excellent speech and hand of friendship you have extended to Soka University. Now I'd like to warmly invite another guest of ours, Professor Shalini Gupta, the Vice Chancellor of Desh Bhagat University, for guest address. Professor Shalini.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be part of South Asia Research Center's second international conference on memory and past in South Asia. My respect to Professor Ryohei, Tanaka, Director SARC, Mr. Tashiro, Chairperson of Board of Trustees, Professor Mukesh, Advisor SARC, Mr. Jagmohan Chandrani ji, President, the Indian Commerce and Trustee Association, and Dr. Atul Khosla ji, Vice Chancellor, Shoolini University, many guests and participants today. In fact, it is always very nice to be part of these conferences. And I remember my first conference and its experiences. I was fully thrilled to attend that conference. It was on mental well-being. And all the times I see that the topics, they are really wonderful. And today I'll be talking about South Asia and Indian philosophy. So we all know that South Asia is home to one of the world's earliest known civilization, the Indian civilization. And Indus civilization, they spread and flourished in northeast part of South Asia way back in 1300 BC. This is what is written in the books. So the Indus civilization, which is the most civilized as well as the densely populated region on the planet, but it has history of ethnic, linguistic, and political fragmentation. Despite that, the people of sub-region, they are unified by a common culture and ethical outlook, a wealth of ancient textual literature in Sanskrit and regional language. It's the major unifying factor. Music and dance, rituals, customs, mode of worship, and literary ideals are almost similar throughout South Asia. So when we talk about Indian philosophy, it is basically based on the Vedas. Vedas, they are the known ancient books, books of wisdom, books of knowledge. And Indian philosophy is based on that, which is named as Sanatam Dharam, where Brahma, supreme, Brahma is a key concept and it is described as eternal, truth, consciousness, bliss, whatever is permanent. The Indian philosophy is based on the three permanent pillars, and that is Atma, means soul, Karma, that is righteous living, and Moksha, that is assimilation in supreme. The basic thought of Indian philosophy is that every creature, they have a soul, and they all are part of the supreme soul. The human has taken birth to finally assimilate in the supreme soul by doing the right karma, that is following righteous path of living, doing meditation, finding guru, and finally be ready for the moksha, that is assimilation. Vedas and the holy scriptures, they say that this is the basic purpose of life, that is no rebirth, no reincarnation. There were various thoughts, there are various faiths. Buddhism, it also originated in South Asia, which is based on the teachings of Buddha. Buddha means the enlightened one. It also talks about righteous path of living based on the teachings of Lord Buddha, where the enlightenment is nirvana. So despite South Asia's ethnic and cultural diversity, there are shared values throughout the region. And we being in India, we follow the philosophy where, again, I would say that supreme is supreme. Brahm is the key concept. It gave birth to Gayatri Mantra, which is known as the most powerful mantra for our spiritual journey. So this was a bit about Indian philosophy. And I would say that this conference is going to be a wonderful conference because the history, literature, past memory, all this culture, they have many things in common. We share the same values, we share the same value system. And here I would like to congratulate Professor Mukesh ji and his team for organizing this seminar. And at the same time, I would like to thank you for calling me here and always believing that I can say a few words. Thank you so much. And I look forward to see you all. And I would like to share my one experience with Japan. When I was in 1993, I was a student of management. That was my first experience with Japan. In fact, I was given one seminar topic by my teacher, and it was just in time. That was the technique, manufacturing technique, and we didn't have any literature in our library. I just thought that let me write to Japan embassy that they can send me some literature because it was the exam. And to my surprise, I could receive the literature within 3 or 4 days of my request. That was my first experience with Japan. And the kind of positive vibes, the kind of feeling I have for the Japanese culture, we keep reading about Japanese culture, it's always so adorable. So I being part of this conference, this Soka University, it's really wonderful. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Over to you, please.
Professor Gupta, for your wonderful guest address. And I am very glad to know your wonderful past, your bond with Japan. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Now we will have a welcome address by Mr. Yasunori Tashiro, Chairperson of the Board of Trustees. Without whose encouragement and guidance, we wouldn't have achieved what we have achieved. So over to you, Chairman Tashiro.
Minasan, konnichiwa. Greetings to everyone. Welcome to Second International Symposium hosted by Soka University South Asia Research Center. Welcome. I want to thank Vice Chancellor Atul Khosla from Shoolini University, Soran, for kindly accepting our invitation to be the chief guest and deliver the keynote address online at the conference. We also have with us Mr. Jagmohan Chandrani, President of the Indian Commerce and Industry Association, Japan, and Professor Shalini Gupta, Vice Chancellor of Danish Bhagat University, who will be give the guest address today. We are fortunate to have members from 10 countries around the world, namely from Mongolia, US, Nepal, Bangladesh, India, Syria, Scotland, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and Japan. We also have scholars from the prestigious Shoolini University here. We would be making presentation in panel sessions. I'm also grateful to the 4 sectional keynote speakers, Professor David Travray, Professor Tomio Mizukami, Professor Mansh Jaidoka, and Professor K.P. Shankaran for providing overarching direction in those 3 significant sections in South Asia. South Asia Research Center at Soka University is a rather new research center. Some of you may be joining our event for the first time. It was established in 2007 19 to promote research and education on South Asia, both in Japan and the world. When Soka University founder Daisaku Ikeda visited South Asia, India, and Nepal for the first time in 1960s, he acknowledged the importance of cultural and educational exchange. 5 decades later, we still know very little about South Asia. On visiting India, founder Daisaku Ikeda promised to each and every person he met to strengthen the relationship, especially between peoples of Japan and South Asia, for mutual understanding and friendship. It is our honor and mission to provide platforms for like-minded scholars, researchers, and students together exchange ideas and create a human network of peace in Asia. Since its opening, even during the pandemic, South Asia Research Center has spearhead more than 20 academic programs and 1 international conference, which found worthy mention in Japan Spotlight, published by Japan Economic Foundation, a report written by Professor Mukesh Williams. Today, South Asia Research Center is hosting its second international conference on memory and past in South Asia. In the time of the pandemic, during our trial and tribulations, a conference like Memory and Past becomes a beacon of hope, bringing together scholars from philosophy, history, literature to discuss on these significant themes. We have many students from South Asian countries today. Some of them are studying at our university and have excelled themselves in creating high academic standards. I would particularly like to welcome all young scholars whose future development is on their shoulder. I wish each one of you have a fruitful discussion and dialogue. One of the aims of our university is create global citizens and give them the sense of global understanding through themes of sustainable development and world peace. South Asia Research Center provides a direction in his endeavor. We are hopeful that this conference will add to our goals and aspirations and carry our endeavors to greater heights. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Professor Chairman Tashiro. Now, I would like to invite Professor Ryohei Tanaka, Director of the South Asia Research Center, Soka University, without whom the center would not have progressed. Professor Tanaka, over to you.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Ryohei Tanaka, the Director of South Asia Research Center and the Executive Vice President of Soka University. Thank you very much for participating despite your busy schedules. We are very happy to hold our second international conference today and tomorrow under the theme of Memory and the Past in South Asia, starting with guest addresses by Professor Shalini Gupta, Vice Chancellor of Desh Bhagat University, and Mr. Jagmohan Chandrani, President of the Indian Commerce and Industry Association, Japan. And we're also privileged to have a keynote address by Professor Atul Khosla, Vice Chancellor of Shoolini University. As Chairman Tashiro said, the South Asia Research Center opened on July 16th in 2019 as a hub of South Asian research at Soka University. At the opening of the center, His Excellency Sanjay Kumar Verma, Ambassador of India to Japan, was present to support us. South Asia Research Center, SARC, has been promoting a variety of events since then, such as conferences, symposiums, discussion meetings, and so on, in collaboration with universities and colleges both in South Asia countries and Japan. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all organizations and institutions and those who have supported us in our journey so far. On this occasion, I would also like to make an announcement. We are very pleased to inform you all that we have recently signed an agreement with Shoolini University to promote collaborative research. We are really looking forward to this new endeavor and hope to strengthen our friendship in the years to come. I eagerly hope that this international conference will be a stepping stone towards further achievements and development for the South Asia Research Center. With this, I would like to conclude my address. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Tanaka. Next, I'd like to invite Professor Mukesh Williams, Vice Director of SARC, who is instrumental in making the conference happen, to introduce the theme of the symposium. Professor Williams.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to introduce the theme of the conference today and tomorrow. Today, we begin the international conference on memory and the past in South Asia. This conference is organized by the South Asia Research Center of Soka University, Japan. Thanks are due to the Chairman Tashiro, President Baba, Director Tanaka, all SARC committee members, especially Mr. Shimoide, Teramoto, Tushita-san, all keynote speakers and scholars speaking today and tomorrow. In these 2 days, South Asianists from 10 countries will deliberate upon the ways memory creates or obliterates the past. The footprints of the past bear heavily on the present, on the politics and psychology of South Asia. The memory of the partition, the politics of discrimination, and the poverty of underdevelopment make South Asia desperate for change. The footprints of the past not only govern our present, but shape our future. Despairing that no change is possible, some leave their countries to look for a better future for themselves and their families. The South Asian diaspora is 24 million strong, about 2% of the South Asian population. Of the 24 million, 20 million are from India. This makes the Indian diaspora the largest in the world. Memory is a great thing. It helps us to remember and to forget. Memory puts our feet on the ground. Forgetting helps us to explore new dimensions. If we do not forget anything, it is impossible to draw conclusions. It is impossible to conduct a reasoned dialogue. Developing a sharp memory may prove to be a beacon in life. But if we do not forget anything, it can become a burden. It can prevent us to lead a normal life. The myths of memory, created through literature, history, and philosophy, reclaim our South Asian past. Remembering too much can become a curse. It can prevent us to think about the present or shape our future. Literature enters memory through language. History enters memory through events. Philosophy enters memory through analysis, through skepticism. Through these disciplines, we return to our past by recognizing emotional shadows that linger on. Our remembered past is constantly negotiated by an uncertain present and an unformed future. The dialectics of rationality tells us that reason cannot give rise to an event. Remembering and forgetting is also a way to access the past. It is a way to make the moment immortal. The idea of immortality attempts to escape the constraints of memory imposed by the passage of time. I want to repeat this. The idea of immortality attempts to escape the constraints of memory imposed by the passage of time. Memory is a stamp on the human ego, on the flow of time. Remembering stops the flow of time. even if for a brief moment. Writing immortalizes a remembering. If the footprints of memory are light on the consciousness, we can fly like a bird. The specificity of events and intensity of remembrance are yearnings of the body and soul to be one with the universe. The 2021 conference will investigate how stories are told and identities imagined in South Asia. The conference will also deliberate upon how histories are written and past reclaimed through language, orality, and archive. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to introduce the theme.
Thank you very much, Professor Williams, for introducing the theme and concepts essential for the following panel discussion. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation.